بعيد ليلة عيد ليلة عيد الليلة ليلة عيد صوت ولادة يا بجداد وبكرة الحب جديد.
يا صباح الفل، ازيكم عاملين ايه؟ How are you all doing guys? Hope you're doing fantastic. Welcome again to a new خمسة مع رمضان video, our little journeys for not only learning Arabic Masry but enjoying it. First of all, Merry Christmas and Happy Holidays for everyone celebrating. I wish next year bring you all joy and happiness for you and all of your family. And the most important thing, to leave the thing that was closest to you in 2020, which was Al-Kimama. طيب, since we are in the Christmas and the New Year season, it's of course very important to know how to celebrate and how to say the most important phrases for that in Arabic. So what we're gonna do is split today's episode into two main parts. The first part will be about the Christmas and the associated phrases, what we can say. And the second part will be about the New Year's, what the people say, how they celebrate and what they say to each other. And as we're used in this channel, we'll be adding little cultural things that will help you always to remember, because as we always say, culture gets you closer to the language and vice versa. So this is the game. In the first part we'll be talking about Christmas in Arabic, and as I always prefer, I usually tell you in the beginning the main points that we'll be talking about. So to talk about Christmas in Arabic, we need to talk about four main points. The first point will be about how to say the important Christian terminology in Arabic, how to say Christian and Christianity and so on. The second point, how to say the two main feasts in the Christian year. Third point will be some cultural info about when the people celebrate Christmas in Egypt and what they eat and so on. And the fourth and the last point will be what to say to someone who is celebrating Christmas in Arabic. خلاص تمام جاهزين؟ يلا بينا. In the beginning we must know how to call the main character in Christianity in Arabic, how to say Jesus Christ in Arabic, which is Al-Masih. Al-Masih, be careful with ha at the end. Al-Masih means Christ, and usually also referred as Al-Sayyid Al-Masih. Al-Sayyid Al-Masih. The word Sayyid means master or mister, even can be used as a title before any name. Or maybe even you heard it before that Sayyid can be even a person's name. You can find someone, his name is Sayyid, you know. Now we know that Al-Masih or Al-Sayyid Al-Masih is Christ. What about his first name? How to say Jesus? Jesus in Arabic is Yeshua. Yeshua with ayn at the end, Yeshua, which is originally drifted from the Aramaic name, which is Yahushua. And of course that was the name that moved later to all the languages with just a little different pronunciation. So we see Yeshua, Yeshua, Yeshu, Yesus, Jesus, just the same word. So back to the story. That means I have two ways how can I say Jesus Christ in Arabic, right? I can say Al-Sayyid Al-Masih or Yeshua Al-Masih, just with his first name. And by the way, it's good to mention that in Arabic it is Isa, Isa with ayn in the beginning. So you might be wondering, so why there is Yeshua and Isa and the two are Arabic? Because as I just mentioned, Yeshua originally drifted from Aramaic. This is not Arabic. However, in Arabic and even in Quran, his name is Isa. That's why you'll find always in Arabic there is a lot of people, their name is Isa. And by the way, Muslims and Christians as well. Now logically, since I know that Al-Masih is Christ, how can I say Christian person is Masihi. Masihi. Masihi for male, Masihiyya for a female, Masihiyin for plural. By the way, even in Masry you'll find it sometimes pronounced faster. So to be Msihi, Sihiyya, Sihiyin, like that. And very important note, this is how we make the relation always in Arabic in general. So we add ya at the end for the male word. So Masihi, Masr, Masri, Faransa, Faransi, and so on. And ya ta marbuta for a female. So Masihiyya, Masriya, Faransiya, etc. And we add in at the end to make it plural. So ya nun. So Masihiyin, Masriyin, Fransiyin, Amerikiyin, etc. etc. And now to the third important point from the Christian terminology, which is how to say Christianity itself in Arabic, which is, I believe you can guess it, Al-Masihiyya. المسيحية, from the same root obviously. So I can say الديانة المسيحية. الديانة means the religion. So الديانة المسيحية, the Christian religion. Or I can say الدين المسيحي. الدين المسيحي, that's the full phrase. So if you are wondering when we say الدين, why is it only المسيحي? And when we use الديانة, it's المسيحية with تاء مربوطة at the end. I did it on a purpose to recap always the very important rule in Arabic that I always repeat, that be careful. The adjective has always to follow the gender of the noun. So, for example, the word deen or al-din is masculine, right? It doesn't end with ta marbuta. So it will be al-din al-masihi. But the word al-diyana, which is, by the way, the two of them just equivalent from the same root. So al-diyana, very similar meaning, but it's a female word, ends with ta marbuta. So it has to be al-masihiyya. So you see, al-din al-masihi, because al-din is masculine. Al-diyana al-masihiyya, because al-diyana is feminine. And also, by the way, this word, either al-din or al-diyana, I can use it for any religion. So I can say al-din al-islami, the Islamic religion. I can say al-din al-masihi, al-din al-yahudi. Yahudi is the Jewish religion, and so on. طيب, تمام. Let's recap quickly what we've learned from the Christian terminology so far. Always recap, very important. ماشي, تمام. So now I know that Christ is al-Sayyid al-Masih or Yasur al-Masih. A Christian person is Masihi, Masihiyya, or Al-Masihiyin, the Christians. And how to say Christianity itself, I can say Al-Masihiyya or Al-Diyana Al-Masihiyya or Al-Din Al-Masihi. All of them alternative. Right, now the second main part from our episode today, which is how to say the two main feasts in Christianity, the Christmas and Easter in Arabic. The Christmas in Arabic is Eid al-Milad al-Majid. Eid al-Milad al-Majid. You'll tell me, why is it very long? Because as you see, it consists of 3 words. Eid al-Milad means the birthday, or actually the birth feast. The same word, Eid. You remember, Eid is feast. Quickly, very important note, I want you to keep in mind that all the day celebrations, it's always referred as feast, as Eid in Arabic. For example, the birthday, we call it the birth feast, Eid al-Milad. The Mother's Day, we call it Eid al-Umm, the mother's feast, and so on and so on. So that's why even in the normal birthday for anyone, we call it Eid al-Milad, the birth feast. So always remember that in Arabic, usually the day celebrations, it's referred as Eid. Tamam? Right, back to the story. So we said Eid al-Milad means the birthday or the birth feast. Al-Majid means the glorious. So that means the full name for the Christmas in Arabic is the glorious birth feast or the glorious birthday. And the people usually shortcut it as just Eid al-Milad or even just Al-Eid, the feast. طيب, تمام. So now we know that Eid al-Milad or Eid al-Milad al-Majid is the Christmas. What about the Easter? So quickly, it's very similar. I'll just change the word in the middle, which is al-Milad, because Christmas is about the birthday, and I'll change it with the word al-Qiyamah. Al-Qiyamah means the resurrection. So the Easter will be Eid al-Qiyamah al-Majid. Eid al-Qiyamah al-Majid. And by the way, in some other context, it can be referred as Eid al-Fash. Eid al-Fash. But especially in Egypt, al-Qiyamah is more common. So Eid al-Qiyamah or Eid al-Qiyamah al-Majid, that's the Easter. Word by word, it will be the feast of the glorious resurrection. Right? Makes sense. So yalla, that means Christmas is Eid al-Milad or Eid al-Milad al-Majid. And the Easter is Eid al-Qiyamah or Eid al-Qiyamah al-Majid. تمام? Right, now before we learn how to congratulate someone for the Christmas, let's take a quick cultural tour about Eid al-Milad and how the people celebrate it, how they fast, when they fast, what to eat, to be more familiar with it. So, yalla bina. Right, in case if you don't know yet, Egypt has the biggest Christian population all over the Middle East and North Africa. Nowadays in 2020, there is between 10 to 15 million Christians in Egypt. And the relationship between مصر والمسيحية, Egypt and Christianity, is very old, goes back to the 1st century AC. That's why you'll find in Egypt some of the oldest churches all over the world. Some of I visited myself, they are really fascinating indeed. Especially in Alexandria, which was a very, very important city in the Christian history, especially in the 1st centuries. Even the Pope of Egypt, his full title is the Coptic Orthodox Patriarchate of Alexandria, you see? Or in Arabic, Baba al-Iskandariya. Baba al-Iskandariya. So, as mentioned, the vast majority of the Egyptian Christians are Coptic Orthodox, and the Islam wal Masihiyya are the two biggest religions in Egypt in terms of numbers. It's also good to mention that Christmas in Egypt is on January 7th, not December 25th, because the Coptic Church still following the Julian calendar. That makes Eid al-Milad al-Magid on January 7th in Egypt, which is a public holiday. And quickly something came to my mind. Do you know how we say Santa Claus in Egypt? It is Baba Noel. Baba Noel, which is originally from French. And finally, we cannot speak about any Eid without mentioning Al-Akl, the food. Well, of course, since majority of the people are fasting in this time, usually the fasting starts from the last few days of November up to January 7th. So the type of food in this period, it's called Akl Siyami. Akl Siyami, which means fasting food. Do you remember the word Siyam from Ramadan episodes? Always recap. And Al-Akl Siyami usually has to be Akl Nabati. Nabati means vegetarian, so Akl Nabati. Of course, there is a lot of dishes for this period, but some of the most famous ones are Bisara, Koshari, and Ful wa Ta'amaya, or Ful wa Falafel, of course. Of course, they don't have any milk or dairies or meat or anything, yet they are very, very delicious. You have to consider trying them once, or no, more than once. Once is never enough. And that's it for today. I hope it was informative to you. You've learned something new for today. And don't forget, inshallah, there'll be a part 2 for the New Year's Eve. What to say, how do people celebrate. So stay tuned. So always practice with irada. And until we meet for a very, very soon video, inshallah, have a nice day. Salam.